Our next speaker for the next 15 or 20 minutes is Rebecca Louise. Zach met Rebecca through Kayla, my daughter Kayla, when she was pregnant with Remy. Kayla was looking for a way to work out during and post pregnancy. And Rebecca's videos, if you haven't seen them yet, her workout videos, she talks to you through the whole video. Now that's not easy. It's tough enough to work out at the pace she does and the level she does. If she talks motivationally through the videos to you as you're working out, amazing. So we met her through Kayla. Kayla and Zach actually credit her for the amazing health that the kids have had, Remy and Bellamy, my grandkids. And she's had enormous success in the fitness business, fitness world, but also many other entrepreneurial endeavors. When we had her on the podcast, and you might want to write this down, episode 324, when we had her on the podcast, I was actually blown away by all the hills she's had to take, all the struggles she's had to go through to take those hills and all the success she's had. So taking on a hill is an understatement. She is literally climbing Mount Everest this April. That's not a like to take the hill expression. She's taking that hill, Mount Everest. Rebecca, thanks for spending some time today. I know you're literally at a live event. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Yes, my one talent in life is talking and working out at the same time. That's the one thing I was able to accomplish. I was like, let's make that into a career. What's up, everybody? My name's Rebecca Louise. I'm originally from England, and I've been in America for the last 11 to 12 years. And yesterday, I found out that I got my permanent residency. So we're talking about the power of perseverance today. It took me 11 years, probably spending over $70,000, getting multiple rejections, but keep on coming back. So it was just crazy to be talking about this today when I opened up my mail and I saw my residency card, and I was like, just couldn't even believe it, right? You get this guide that says, welcome to the USA. I was just like so excited. So really, really just so blessed to be here. I've been in the fitness space for 8 years. I have about 500 million views on YouTube. So consistency is key when it comes to building anything. I've never missed a new YouTube video coming out every single week for the last 6-7 years. I have a best-selling book. I have a podcast called It Takes Grit. I have a network marketing company. I have merchandise, fitness equipment, and it's just been the most incredible journey coming to America at 22 years old to originally get my commercial pilot's license. So that's what I came for. I got my license and just realized that it wasn't ultimately what I wanted it to do. And so I think that in life, we get to pivot. And especially as we step into a new year, we get to set those new goals. We get to set those new intentions. But really, it's about how do we crush the goals? So many people talk about vision boards and manifesting. I tell you what, a vision board without action is just a bunch of pictures on a poster. Let's be real. Well, we can create these pictures, we can create these vision boards, we can say, I'm going to manifest this, but without a structured plan, we're never going to be able to execute it. And it feels sometimes like it's so overwhelming about how we're going to be able to execute that plan. And I'm going to give you my 5, breakdown steps of exactly how I set up the year. So again, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. The earlier that when we did, it was so much fun. Again, it was a great episode. I'm actually here in Anaheim, California. I'm the MC for an event today. So I've got about 10 minutes with you guys. So how do I organize my goals for the year? I'm a big fan of Jesse Itzler. I've been able to be around Jesse for the last couple of years. He was actually a reference for my green card as well. So I have a lot to thank that man for. He also introduced me to my boyfriend. So I think I'm basically in debt to Jesse Itzler. But he has something called the Big Ass Calendar Club. And it is this basically a massive calendar that lets you see the full year. And what the first thing I do is step number 1 is I list everything that I want to achieve in the year. So could it be launching a podcast? Could it be, you want to get X amount of people, homes sold? Is it that you want to drop 10% body fat? Like, is it that you want to climb Everest? Is it that you want to do a tour with, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to write down all of those things. Now, some of those things might be like a 2 to 3 to 5 year goal, but think about what are the things that you realistically think that you could set for 2022. Write them all down. Now, this is where most people go wrong, is they write them down and they brainstorm and they go, great, that's my 2022. The most important part is what you do next. Number 2, You want to write down exactly which month you want to do each of those things. Because say that you want to launch a podcast and on your list is also go to Mount Everest, right? You can't do those both in the same month. You have to be strategic. You have to plan. When is that going to happen? If you have a big family vacation that you want to take this year, don't align that with you trying to do the best in your business, because you're going to get you discouraged. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, I'm failing. Instead of going, you know what? May of 2022, I'm taking a 2-week vacation with my family, and I know that's happening. And if I know that I need that 2 weeks off, what do I have to do before to make sure everything is set up in place, right? So you map out over the 12 months, which month are you going to achieve what? Number 3, you then want to work backwards. What do you need to do for each of those goals? So say, for example, you want to launch a podcast. Well, you can't just launch a podcast in January. You don't have any episodes set up. You don't have your studio set up. You don't have, everything like with your website set up. So realistically, when could you do it? And we just did this with my boyfriend because he wants to launch his podcast. But I was like, right, let's see when it would actually be feasible to launch it. Great, we're going to launch it in March, which means that in February, we work backwards. How many episodes do we need to shoot? And when are we going to shoot them? Then that brings us to January. When do we get the studio set up? When do we get the website set up? So then we know 100% that when March comes around, we're going to execute because we've already set ourselves up. We can't just say we're going to launch it in March and then not have anything planned before. So it's really, really key that once you've got that goal in, and maybe it's taking a family vacation, great. You want to take the family vacation in August. When do you have to book it by? When do you have to ask your family members to all agree on the same location? How long is that going to take, right? So it's really important when you back up your goals, then you can have this map of what's going to happen. And then number 4 is put in your Google Calendar what you need to do daily. So it's great to say, awesome, I want to have the podcast studio set up in January. Great. What day in January? What time in January? How many hours do you need to do to set it up? So put it into the Google Calendar and then you get a notification. It's great if you've got an Apple Watch, you can set up your notifications. You're running around somewhere. Oh my goodness, in 10 minutes, I'm meant to start setting up my podcast, or I'm meant to start doing these calls, or I'm meant to start executing this. And then you actually have it in your diary. And then the 5th thing is you just execute. And if you execute every single one of those times where in your Google Calendar, it pops up to tell you what to do, it's going to be so easy by the end of the year to be like, great, I've done all my goals because I planned it out and I made it strategic. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? Does everyone get a bit more excited? They're like, great, I have like clarity now. And it sounds so simple, but if we don't plan anything, it's never going to happen. You also want to look at your year, and Jesse Itzler says this all the time, about building your life resume, not just putting in the work, but putting in the fun time. What's going to be your one big experience of the year? For me, and I'm going to Mount Everest. I was meant to go in 2020 and obviously 2020 happened. So I am going and attempting to go to the top. I've got the most incredible guide. We have a whole film crew as well coming with us. So that is my one big thing. However, I can't just turn up to Everest and be like, oh, let's see how this goes. No, I got to figure out, when do I do my training trips? So I've backed it up. In March, I'm going to the Alps. In February, I've got another trip. I've just got my residency, which means I can now leave the country. So I'm going to figure out a trip there. And next week, I go to Bozeman, Montana. So I'm making sure that I don't just show up to a big event unprepared. And it goes the same in your business, right? What are you doing daily to help you get to your goal? How many people do you need to reach out to? How many people do you need to follow up with? What do you need to launch that's going to, help your clients? Are you being consistent on social media? That's a whole other avenue I could go down on, like building your brand. Everybody is a brand. Nowadays, if I want to find out if I want to buy something from someone, I want to check you out online. And I don't really care too much about your website because your website is static. but your social media is current. So if I go on your social media and you're out there with your family and you've had a great day, I'm like, oh, I like this guy. I like this guy. I trust him. So social media, even if you feel like, oh, I'm not getting any leads from it, it's actually a great way to maintain your current clients and to get referrals. So that's a whole other avenue I could go down. I think I speak a little bit about that on the podcast, but love branding and really just executing how you are the brand. People want to know who you are. All right. So finally, let's step into this power of perseverance, right? It's a massive thing when it comes to growing a team and leading yourself and getting 1% better every day. So I've got 4 steps for this for you. Number 1 is show up. Show up when you even don't want it. There's 3 ways that people show up. Number 1, you get your body in the room. Who's ever been to a workout where they're in the class or they're doing a workout, but all of a sudden 10 minutes goes past and they're like, what did I do? Was I following the instruction? My brain was not there. I was just like working out. I was doing the action, right? No problem. Like getting on this training today. Some people are like, oh, I just can't. I can't do it today. It's just too tough. You know, I had this happen in my life. I had this happen. All excuses have the same value, 0. All excuses have the same value, 0. Whether your car broke down or someone passed away, it's the same. So if you can learn how to just show up, you will build the muscle that nothing will knock you over, because the universe just comes along and tries to go knock you down. You get back up again, you're like, woo, ready to go. And all of a sudden the universe gives you another test. So you just got to keep getting back up. Number 2 way of showing up is you show up and your mind is there with you. You're like, great, I've got my brain, my body's here, I'm rocking and rolling, right? I'm going to an event today, learning about nutrition. And once you've got your body in the room and then you're there taking notes, right? You're actually like processing it. A lot of you guys are taking notes right now. The 3rd way of showing up is you get your body in the room, you get your mind in the room, and you bring people with you. That's how you grow a team. Now, if you don't do number 1, when it's difficult, you'll never get to number 2. Therefore, you'll never get to number 3 and you'll never grow that team. So you got to build the muscle to show up. I will show up no matter what. It's just like ingrained in me. I think my mentor was just like, you know what? You got to show up, change your state, change your state, change your state, right? So really showing up. All right. Then the second thing of that power, right, is ask questions and get curious. I had a great experience. I had an Uber driver 2 nights ago. I was coming back from Florida. You know, I have a great opportunity in my network marketing business. So I'm chatting to the guy. He's telling me he loves fitness. I'm like, brilliant. Like, I'm in nutrition, fitness. You're going to love this. Kept giving me objection after objection after objection. I was just trying to get curious and understand. And he ended up telling me, I don't talk details to passengers. I was like, okay, no problem. And I was like, could not crack this guy. I was like, man, it's like 11 o'clock at night. This guy's in an Uber. I couldn't even get him on Instagram. I couldn't crack him. But you know what? What it did is I just kept being curious. I wanted to understand them. Like when someone feels like they're seen and they're understood, right? It's amazing like how much more they're going to be open up to you, even if sometimes you can't crack it, right? Number 3 is to overcome those objections. Like I just said with my Uber driver, I just kept coming back to him. He was like, oh yeah, I'm really into fitness. I'm like, amazing. Like, you know, when was the last time you worked out? He was trying to tell me that his favorite gym was Equinox. I was like, great, I'm doing an event there. He's like, oh no, like I don't work there. I was like, I don't know where this conversation is going, but it was very entertaining. So it's just about overcoming those objections by asking more questions rather than going like this to them, right? It's about understanding, like get curiously stupid, right? Just come from a place of real understanding. And then 4thly, the power of perseverance is don't take it personally. It's got nothing to do with you. Who's ever had a no? Who's ever had someone telling them no? Oh my goodness. My mentor, right at the beginning, 8 years ago, there was about 100 of us on this beach and we'd just done a workout. We were having post-recovery shakes. And he said, the only reason that I'm more successful than all of you put together is because I've had more no's than all of you put together. And I was like, wow, it is. It's the power of numbers. It's nothing personal. And as Jim Rohn says, it's pennies in the sale, fortune in the follow-up. So just because somebody said no to you once, you know, my boyfriend says, follow up until they die or get started. I'm like, okay, all right, we're going to follow up until they die or get started, right? So there's just a couple of tips that have really helped me in my business. And if anybody wants to connect with me on social media, I'm on every platform, Rebecca Louise Fitness, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. If you're not on TikTok and you want to grow something, I highly suggest that is the platform for you right there. But again, thank you guys so much for having me today. I hope that I gave you some nuggets. I got to jump off. I'm going to MC an event today. But again, just to really appreciate all your time. If you want to connect with me, Instagram is the best place, Rebecca Louise Fitness.
Rebecca, thanks a bunch. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend. I think you need to notch the energy up just a little bit. And I'm only kidding. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.